Hello and welcome to the year of being 70. So, this is our 28th conversation. Me, Lucy Macara in Norfolk, England, and my childhood friend Lisette Schoutemaker in Amsterdam. And we were both 70 last year, and we decided to have a weekly conversation about how it is to be 70, but also to look back, but also to look forward. And that's what we're going to talk about today, perhaps the looking forward that is uh, interesting, shall we say.
Yeah, well, it's looking forward is also, I think, when I think, of being 70, what I notice is, I notice slight impairments in my own functioning and bigger impairments in the functioning of people I hold dear. And there's more, yeah, let's not be glum about this, but it is just true that, the ceiling, we're kind of growing towards the ceiling of life, right? And I lost one of my cousin, my first cousin who has died. She was the eldest of our generation, but she died a couple of weeks ago. And I have a friend who is actually in a process of dying. And of course, I think we've lost people along the way, right? We all lose people in the course of our lives. But it happens more and more as we get older. And so, how do you deal with that, Lucy?
It's it is hard. I mean, I have really genuinely been very lucky because my mum is still alive at the age of 97, so I'm not yet an orphan, which most people, I would think, most people
But
are.
I don't call myself an orphan. When your mother dies when you're like in your 60s, it doesn't feel like it felt to me more like, oh, there's a new phase of life. But
Yes,
yeah, an
I know, but
orphan,
I saw
yeah.
somebody say that on social media or somewhere the other day, talk about yes, when your parents die, you are an orphan. But it sort of feels like that, doesn't it, in a way? I mean, I'm asking you because I have one parent alive still. So I mean, I think, the difference is that I am not the next in line yet. But I will be, obviously. I'm the eldest in my family. So technically, if we're sort of looking at it in a chronological sense, I will be the next to go. I was saying, I am lucky in that I haven't experienced many deaths yet of close friends or relations, and not from old age. I mean, a good friend died last year very suddenly, and very quickly of something unexpected. I don't know that I really sort of thought about that as an age thing. I mean, it could have. I mean, of course, it was to some extent, but she was younger than me, and but yes, it is. I mean, certainly you must be. I mean, we must both be more aware of it. It goes without saying, really, that we feel older. I certainly feel older physically. I feel older. I I could list all my ailments, as old people are, kind of very prone to do, and I think enjoy doing, comparing, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with me. So, I have backache. My ankles aren't brilliant. My knees are okay. My hips hurt a bit sometimes. I wake up in the morning and it's, I feel fine in bed, and then, getting out of bed, there's, something twinges in my back. There's that kind of thing, which I guess is only going to get worse. At the moment, it's perfectly bearable, um, but it will get worse, obviously.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, we're far from wanting to complain about being 70 because I think, some of our friends, as you said, have not made it to this age. So it is wonderful to have made it to this age and to feel that we are mostly still compos mentis and vigorous enough to lead our life and not need care, which, at our age would maybe be young. But no, yeah, but and I see it also with people around me, they get, yeah, what do I have? I have a very strange thing with my feet, especially in warm days. And it is a thing that runs in our family, that the skin on our feet is very sensitive. And so on the warm days, I have to really watch out what shoes to wear, or I will be blistered, and they will get very hot during the night. And then I can't sleep anyway. Otherwise, yeah, I have a white skin. So, sunburn when we were young and careless, and our
Oh,
mothers didn't
yeah.
really realize
No,
how much damage sunburn could do.
no, absolutely. I mean, I used to sunbathe, in the hottest possible sun with
Yeah,
ombre solaire, which was basically cooking oil. I mean, it smelt nicer than cooking oil, but
it
you would
smelled
fry
very nice.
in oil and then fry gently in the sun.
My
Um,
mother had ombre solaire. It was like when she got out her bag and she had it in this plastic bag, and that smell, it was the smell of summer. But it
yes,
I hadn't realized it was like cooking oil, but it did not have like SPF. I don't know even know
no, no,
solar
no, no.
protection factor. I think that means. I think
Yes.
nothing. Yeah.
I don't. I mean, that hadn't even entered our consciousness. So, when I was in my teen
Yeah.
20s, when I did most of my sunbathing, uh,
Yeah.
I'm just lucky that I didn't have such sensitive skin that I've now got, sort of cancer. Well, as far as I know, as yet. Uh,
Yeah. Well, I go to the dermatologist twice a year to check for things, and she kind of burns or burns with cooling, kind of freezes things away that could develop into cancer.
yeah,
But otherwise, I'm still fine. What I do notice, and this is really embarrassing, is that I can have intense conversations, for instance, at a conference where you speak to many people, but they don't register. And the next time I just, say my name to this person, and this person kind of looks puzzled because we've had this conversation and it hasn't registered in me. And also the faces, especially of younger people, I just don't remember them. And it feels as if I'm not interested, which isn't true, but I'm finding it difficult. And also now that I notice that it is really a pattern, I do say, I don't remember you. It's nothing personal. It just has to do, gray hairs, kind of, I can do like this. It has to do with, but that's how I see that some part of my brain isn't functioning as well as it did.
yeah, no, no, I noticed that too. I mean, I've had a couple of occasions recently when somebody's kind of come up and sort of obviously felt they've known me and we've talked or we've met, and I simply cannot place them anywhere. And that, yeah, and I used to have an exceptionally good memory for that. I used to be able to meet people, know their faces, and always be able to place them, and also always remember the name to the face as well. And I was particularly good at that. So that's now really annoying that I can't do that anymore. It was sort of yeah, something I used to be quite proud of, and now it's just, yeah,
It's actually quite moving that you have this too, because I have only recently kind of started to name it within myself as something that is like a problem or an issue, and I haven't really spoken about it much. And I mean, the fact that you have it too is in a way, relieving, although I wouldn't wish it on anybody because it is not, yeah, it just sounds so unkind and so uninterested, but both of us are not uninterested in other people.
no,
It's just
no,
like
I wouldn't want to either forget anybody or upset anybody. It's really, yeah, it's horrible when it happens for them and for you. And but it's interesting what you say about not naming things. I mean, I do feel that I kind of, there are certain things that are creeping up on me that I sort of recognize as old age, the symptoms, but I'm not willing to admit that they exist. I think, oh,
maybe you'll
I
admit to them now,
I'm
Lucy.
just noticing it more now. That's all. It's not actually getting any worse, or I'm not actually, having this whatever it is because of age. It's just, I mean, one of the things I seem to be doing at the moment is that absolutely typical thing, and everybody says, "Oh, I do that too," but it's putting something down and then forgetting where you put it. And I do feel that it's getting worse for me, and that is just so irritating. And um, yeah, and silly, sort of leaving things in really silly places. And I fear, I don't want to name it as a symptom of old age, but I suspect it probably is not going to get any better, to say the least.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, what I also have is when people come to the house and I need to, even I had a meeting, a brainstorm meeting here of a board that I'm in on Friday, then the prepping of it in my mind takes up a bigger place than it used to.
that's exactly.
So yeah, I put even doing shopping, in on my to-do list, whereas I think, I would all take that in stride and do it more easily. So yeah, those kinds of things
Yes,
take
yes,
up, yeah, and bring a bit of tension also. I wouldn't say stress, but they bring a bit of tension that I think is quite new.
yes, yes, that's interesting. Hmm. Yeah, it's yeah, I think the memory thing is really something that you do start to notice, and you don't want to admit to.
Admit to it.
That's
Yeah, and then there I have a good friend, a woman I've been on a board for years and years, who has very, very courageously, gone into the fight against the cancer that had hit her, and yeah, thought that with the final operation she would be rid of it, and then it turned out in another part of her body there was something that's growing so fast that it is just relentless. And yeah, this is where I think the spiritual work really pays off, because she is full of grace, has been full of grace in this process, and now has many people around her. And every evening we tune into her and have like a 5 minute meditation with people from all over the world. And thanks to modern technology, there is a WhatsApp group where only the people who can post, and they post updates on her, and also kind of a reminder of that meditation. And yeah, it's really beautiful, this idea that all of us who love her so much and who are so grateful for her in our lives kind of can tune in and make her know how loved and appreciated she is.
lovely. That's a really wonderful thing to do. I think one of the excuses that I use for things like, not remembering stuff and putting things down and not remembering where I put them, is that I think, oh, I've just got so much going on. It's just a function of having too much to think about, and it's not actually getting any worse. It's just that I'm taking on more stuff, and I'm not relaxing enough to let my mind work properly. And I don't know whether that's true, but I suppose one of the things about that is, and I don't know if you feel this, is I really do feel time pressure now. There are things I want to do and achieve, and I don't know how long I've got. And I didn't feel that so much before I actually hit the number 70. And now I really feel that I have to get on. I kind of, in my mind, I've got 10 years where I think I can be sure or hopeful that I'm going to be able to keep working, but I don't know, of course, and it could be longer for all I know. I mean, there are plenty of people who go
Yes, or we could fall over tomorrow. I mean, let's not
on.
invoke this, but it could happen.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. But there are projects that I've had in my mind, and I've talked about this before, all for years and decades. And one of those is writing fiction, and there are other things that I want to do, and other things I feel that I need to leave my family in a more prepared state. I mean, in my case, financially and sort of functionally, because if I did just go, it would be very difficult for some people. And I think in a way I put off doing that, because it's sort of, if I do it, it's final, it's done, then I could go. And I don't want to have that. I don't want to be in that place, I think, in a way.
Okay, so there's some superstition here that when you've got your things in order, then you know your time is somehow up. So
Yes.
then you
Yes.
postpone getting your things in order. And so, yeah, that's some, I think in childhood, that's called magical thinking, right?
Yes, yes, it is. I'm sure it's called magical, but it's sort of not even, I mean, it's kind of reverse magical thinking because it's so stupid. It doesn't, it doesn't make any sense. It's a completely back to front. Where, if I got my things in order, then I could actually relax and feel less pressured. And I would probably be in less, kind of danger of, I don't know, giving myself a
So
heart.
what would help you? What would help you in this to get your things in order?
Oh, just just to do stuff that I mean, I need to redo my will and just make
I
it.
need to redo my will too.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that because I thought you would have everything perfectly
Well,
organized.
I have. My will is good, but things change in the
Well,
outer.
exactly, I have a will, but it's out of date, really.
When did you last update it?
Well, it was probably more than 20 years ago.
Oh, well, I updated it. I think it is right here because I need to go and look at it. I updated it in let me see. See, it's on my desk, so I'll actually do it. 28th of April, 2022.
Oh, well, that's very recent.
That's very recent, but things have changed in the outer world, and I need to adapt. And I just had this morning the person who does my tax. Well, you say tax returns, but you
Yes.
don't always get a return, right? Usually, you
No,
have to
but it's
pay more.
I don't know why it's called that, whether you're returning.
That's also magical thinking, I think. That you But
Oh,
anyway, I have all, I mean, I love paying taxes because that's how we keep our society going. Anyway, um, and he said, there's some loose ends here, Lisette. You need to go to see your public notary. So he will do my tax forms in June. I said, I will go to the notary in June. So yeah, no, I need to do that.
oh, that's good. Yes, I just need to
I
make
need
a
to do that. You need to do that too.
I do,
Let's make a
absolutely.
pact that we
Yes.
do this before the 21st of June.
Oh gosh, yes, okay, okay, that's a good one. Yeah, I will put that in my calendar somewhere and keep it.
But I think that's a very good pointer for people who are 70 to first make a will.
Yes,
I first made a will because I was aware that when I was alone and had no children, so in my 30s, any money I had or any possession, and I bought a house on a canal in Amsterdam, which was lovely and good and beautiful and great. But if I died, it would all go back up to my parents, who who didn't really need it. So then I thought, who would I want it to go to? And yeah, there's a whole thing there.
yes, yes, absolutely. Well, my family is complicated because I've had two marriages, and so I have children from different marriages, and my older children have a different father who they will be inheriting from, and then my younger children will be inheriting from me and my current husband, Richard. So it's complicated to put that in writing,
I
really.
think it's always complicated. My complication is I have no children. And but I have nephews and nieces, some of whom I'm really in touch with, some of whom I'm not in touch with at all. So should they be in my will? Could I favor those with whom I have more of a personal connection, who may be also inheriting less from that particular sibling? And could I favor them at the expense of the others who will probably inherit more because of the life and choices of that particular sibling? Or or is that painful? Because you don't want to cause pain after you've died, right?
No, no, absolutely, absolutely, yeah. It's yes, I mean, my father's will, I think, sort of inadvertently, I'm sure, caused some pain because he had been very old-fashioned, and I think he would have updated his will if he had thought about it, perhaps. But he left the bulk of his well, the money that was most of it went to my mother, I think. But I mean, he left
Yeah.
some money to there's me and my two younger brothers, and he was very much the eldest son inherits, and my
Even if there is an elder, a
oh
sister
yeah,
who's
no,
older.
no, sorry, girls don't count. Yeah. So,
Girls don't count. How
well,
painful is that, Lucy?
well, exactly. And I mean, his reasoning, I think my mother told me this, I hope I'm not making it up, was that, when he made his will, he assumed that I would be married and my husband would look after me, while, my eldest brother would need the most money. And I don't quite know why he'd need more than my younger brother, but, I think either my youngest brother and I kind of got a half, 25% each, as it were. Or I even got anyway. My mum, who, kind of made
Yeah.
right, another great aunt died around the same time, and she was the executor, and so she was able to sort of equalize things because she said she knew that was what Daddy would have wanted. But it is, there's still a kind of, even though it was his view, goodness knows how long ago he made that will, there's a little pinprick
Yeah.
of rejection there.
Well, that's exactly what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. So, yeah, so if I disperse it unevenly, then will that happen? And will there be pain in a generation that I can't even, you can't talk about it anymore? Um,
No,
but there's also the question of, why money needs to go to family or whether it could go to causes. And of course, there's a thing, you with your husband, me with my husband, yeah, how how to do that and how to do that, how to, if we go first, then how to set them up so they don't have worries.
yes, exactly. But also, well, in my case, make sure that the children get what I'd say what they are due, what I'd like them to have, if anything, in my case. But yeah, it is, and unless you write an explanation for everything, then people can ask forever after. I wonder why she did that, and that was really mean, and why did she leave him out, and
That's actually a very good point to write an explanation.
yeah,
That's really a very good point, actually. Yeah.
yes, you kind
I
of
never thought about that. It's just, this kind of legal document in legalese. And it's very difficult to think about it. I think that's why we postpone. I mean, it is almost weekly. It is on my list. Make an appointment with the public notary. And he is a wonderful, I have like this wonderful 40-ish man who I'm on a board with. And it's like, whoa, great to work with him. And he made it really clear and, changed the setup from, yeah, I've kind of revised it every 5, 6 years. Yeah, because my ideas about life and also what is important change.
yeah. Yes, no, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I will be, well, unless I become much richer than I am now, I won't be leaving any money to causes, because I think that can cause trouble with family as well. I mean, the sort of the kind of cliche in the UK that we use is, oh,
Yeah,
she left
I
all
know it. I know it. The donkey sanctuary.
the donkey sanctuary, or actually the cat's home.
Oh, the cat's home. Yeah, a friend of mine used to say people leave it to the donkey sanctuary. Yeah, but that's different, I think, when you have children than when you have no children.
Yeah,
And I would leave it not to, a cause that, but to things that I've also been on boards, like now I'm on the board of a endowment fund of a museum, the museum in Rotterdam, Boijmans van Beuningen. So I would love to leave them, a surprise.
yeah,
What
yeah.
I've learned how wonderful it is to receive some surprise money from friends.
Oh yes, that would be nice. Yes. So you're thinking,
To receive, to be on the receiving end.
yes, absolutely. I've never received any surprise money from anybody, so it would certainly be
Yeah.
nice. But yes, yes, that would be very sweet. But yeah, so what else do you
So
feel?
there's the will. Well, you said you have projects you want to finish, you feel you still have, until 80, then we really start to fade out in whatever way. I don't have that. I'm more like, wow, every day that I'm still kind of in business is like a miracle to me. And I don't really have, but I don't think I ever truly had. I'm more a responder than a creator, even though I've written, books, but they were also kind of a response to something within me. But I don't have, I need to achieve this or do that,
There's
or
no book you want to write or something that you feel is unfinished in your life as yet?
that's that's an amazing question, actually. That's an amazing question to ponder. Is anything unfinished in your life as yet? I mean, it's all unfinished, and then also nothing is unfinished. And I've tried really for a long time to live as, if I don't wake up tomorrow, okay. No, I don't have like postponed things I haven't done that I would have wanted to do for a long time, and I haven't done them,
No.
but for revising my will.
Well, that's enough. That's a document that has to be
Yeah.
finished.
No, if I write another book, then great. But if I don't, then, then it wasn't
Wasn't
to
meant to
be.
be. No, I think you've got a better kind of take on, what's meant to be is meant to be and what's not is not. I constantly feel guilt that I am meant to be doing things and I'm not doing them, and that sort of sits at the back of my mind quite a lot. But what are the two things, say, that you fear most about getting old? What do you actually fear about possibly losing physically, mentally?
Well, what I've seen with people I don't think like that, but what I feel, because my attitude is mostly, on good days, is that everything is a life experience. So if I get demented and people will have to, take care of me, then that's my experience. Then that's been given to me to experience. But I was once at a funeral of a mother of a friend. I mean, much like your mother, who'd grown very, very old. And then all, it was just like us of the next generation. There was hardly anybody of her generation. And so a kind of, yeah, being the last one standing, but having lost so many people, I think that I would find really hard.
Yeah, yes, no, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think if I lost one of my children before I died, I would find that incredibly hard. And one of my mum's friends, who is a couple of years younger than her, has two very ill children who will probably, I mean, she's very old and also could go at any time, but she's also very sort of
Yeah,
strong, and
yeah.
she will probably outlive two of her children, which is a
Yeah,
very
that is,
tough
I think,
thing.
the hardest thing for a parent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. And I also, I mean, my father was blind for the last 8, 9 years of his life, and I worry about. I mean, it's not a kind of hereditary thing at all. It was just something that happened to him. But I do feel that if I lost my sight, I would find it very difficult to do the things that I love doing. I mean, I listen to audiobooks a lot, and he listened to audiobooks, but I write. I need to see things in writing. Anything I do business wise is, really involves me, looking at screens, reading screens. And I know there are adaptations, and I have an
Yeah.
who is my mother's slightly younger sister, who her sight has pretty much gone, and she has something that
Mm.
her screen enormous, and she kind of copes, but it's so hard. Having said that, she's a psychiatrist who still practices at the age of 95. She she
Wow.
prescribes medication. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not, to be honest, but it just shows.
She still has her license. I'm sure she
Yeah,
gets
yeah,
looked at from time to time. She gets
done. Yes, she's in America, not here, so I'm sure the rules are different there, but it's it's
What
interesting.
I also saw with my mother, and I see that also with your mother on the rare occasion that I come to visit, is that nothing much happens anymore in your own life.
Yeah,
And you kind of live vicariously through the stories that younger people tell you about, places they've been, people they've seen, things that they're discovering or excited about. And so I think, in a way, being bored or having a
yes,
really uneventful life, I'm not sure whether I could remain gracious when that would happen.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. No, being bored is terrible. Yes, I mean that would be, and I'm sure many old people are simply very, very bored. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a
Yeah, when nothing happens in your day, it's kind of you're
yeah,
really then dependent on, your inner life and your own thoughts. And yeah, so I think it's a huge training to train up for that.
yes. Gosh, how do you do that? Just yes, I know you're going to say meditate and things like that.
Yes, meditate until there's nothing there anymore. Yeah,
No, no. But also, the other thing is, I mean, there's sort of lack of agency mentally, but there's also lack of agency physically. I mean, not being able to do anything for yourself. And, I watch my mum who has carers, very, very wonderful carers, but it's not the
I've
same.
met some of them.
Yeah, they're so lovely and so thoughtful and wonderful. But she if she's on her own in a room, she can't now, and something falls off a table, or she can't go and pick it up, and it can be the little things, I think, as much as the bigger things. And she's amazing. I mean, I know that she trains herself not to get irritated by
Yeah.
things like that. But I'm
I
sure,
think that's beautiful if you can do that. Kind of go like, okay, so I'm in this predicament now, so this is what happens. And I also think, and I saw that with my mother too, who had carers for the last like 7 years of her life, is you never get to eat your own food.
no, no, absolutely, you
I
don't get.
mean, we all have like, those dishes. Yesterday, I was actually at a cousin's because I've had a cousin who died, and yesterday I was at her youngest sister. So yeah, she's a cousin, and I don't really know her. I don't really know her from when we were young. And it was a lovely, lovely visit. And she had albums also of our grandmother when our common grandmother was first married. And there was one really wonderful picture. I mean, they didn't used to take pictures. It was a black and white picture, with the white, with the so this was the, I think, 50th anniversary of his grandparents. And so there was a picture of his grandparents with my grandmother and him, and he must have been 10. And he is in a picture like this. So he sticks out his tongue, which, of course, there's a picture being made. This is a moment in 1935. This is an official moment, and he sticks out his tongue. It's so funny.
But it's there forever.
But anyway, why was I talking about my cousin? I don't know, trying to find out a life of our parents dying gracefully. I don't know what you. So, lost my thread. Is this being 70, Lucy?
I'm sure that is being 70. One of the things that I actually kind of quite welcome. And I do think it is literally to do with being 70 and feeling, okay, well, I am 70 now, is that I don't care anymore. Not, well, at least not as much as I used to, what other people think. I mean, and it's partly actually to do with having our weekly conversations, which, I kind of feel are just conversations between you and me in the moment. But then other people, obviously are listening to them. And I've kind of, I feel that I can be more me now than I felt able to before. And it's like, well, God, she is 70. I mean, you just got to accept that, really. So I'm not, I'm less bothered that my house is a constant mess. And
You can't tell from what we're looking
and
at.
this little window that you can see on my Zoom camera is literally the only tidy piece of my house. It's curated to look tidy, apart from the dogs coming in and out. But my filing system is the floor, basically. The people I live with, when they come looking for food in the kitchen, if it's not visible, it doesn't exist. So, lots of stuff is out of cupboards and out of places because, they need to be able to find it. So, and I know it really, I think, what does it matter in 20, 30 years time? Nobody will care whether my files were kept tidily or, my food was put away in the kitchen. It just doesn't matter. So I feel a bit kind of released by that. And if I if I behave eccentrically, and I don't think I know if I do or not. And it's quite possible that I am. I mean, like you, I mean, I think I'm quite odd. I think we've both said this before. We think we're
Yeah, yeah, we like to be
we're a
odd.
bit odd, but I don't try not to be odd anymore. At least not as much as I used to. I think that's something I kind of rather like with being 70 and being older, and take it or leave it kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I have that too. And I can get completely kind of, I don't know, wonder whether anything I've done means anything or whether I have been useful at all or whether I have actually kind of misunderstood everything slightly and been a bit off, as my mother always used to say, and somehow functioned anyway and done things. So I can also go into complete worthlessness, but yeah, not so much. I don't think not so much in comparison with other people.
Yeah. Yes. No, I question whether, anything I've done has any value whatsoever. And, but then again, most people's lives are like that, aren't they? And sort of when the people who actually know you in life, when they pass, you are gone completely then. You're not even there in people's memories unless, we happen to have books, but who will read our books in 50 years' time? Probably nobody at all. But well, maybe the
No,
elder. I think the
there's just a few. We went to the opera of Dido and Aeneas, Dido and Aeneas by Purcell. So he wrote this 350 years ago, and it is still being performed. It actually has, Jos and I have a little file called the funeral file with music that we would like to have played at our funeral. And one of them is Dido's Lament. When I am laid in earth is such a beautiful song, and Annie Lennox sings it also very, very beautifully. So that's in our funeral file, which, when do you start to keep a funeral file? Not when you're 30. I mean, this is kind of a recent, I think we've had it for 4 years or so, maybe after my mother died and we kind of, oh, what does she want to on her funeral? Oh, we better kind of start a funeral file because we don't even have children who will know what we like. Um, but anyway, I thought, wow, this opera is, he wrote it 350 years ago. We still enjoy it. And then the story of Dido and Aeneas is much older than that. It's like 2000 years old. So some things continue, but it's not bad. I mean, I don't need to be personally kind of glorified or remembered or
No, 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 absolutely.
no,
Don't
no, it's
feel
just
into that at all. It's, I
Yeah.
don't think in terms of, people talk about, their book or their business or their whatever is their legacy. That doesn't resonate with me at all. I'm not interested in having a legacy or being remembered,
No.
except possibly by, family or something, friends. But I mean, it's not something I hanker after. It's not something I worry about. People will either remember you or not. And,
No, but in the greater scheme of things, I still would hope that I've had a positive influence.
yes, I would prefer
Life
to.
affirming life.
Yes, I would prefer to feel that I have left the world in a slightly better place for one reason or another than I found it, that I've added positively to the sum of whatever, my existence was, rather than had a negative effect. But of course, you never know really, do you? Who's there to add it up and calculate it?
Yeah, but it also speaks of, our daily approach and the way we lead our life or follow our life. It's not like grabbing as much as we can, trying
No,
to get
no,
rich fast and drive in Ferraris and pollute Earth by flying, everywhere. I mean, that's not what we want to do.
no, no,
So
no.
I think how we want to live very much informs how we live.
Yeah, yeah, that is very true. Yes.
Well, what a topic.
Yes, we just sort of, yes, we came on that topic today just very shortly before we started recording this. So it wasn't like we've thought it through or had this on our minds for a long time. But I think it's well, it's been quite revealing to me personally. It's made me think. Hope it's maybe made other people think in a good way, not a depressing way. I
Yeah.
know it's a depressing conversation, but
No, no, no. It wasn't a depressing conversation for me. And we now have this pact of revising our wills, which is very important. No, but also I think when you're 70, this is things to ponder,
yeah, yeah,
to
absolutely.
reflect on, and to remember and to celebrate.
Yeah, it is a different phase of life.
It is.
But as you always say, let's enjoy being 70. So
Let's enjoy being 70, as we do.
indeed.
See you next week.
See you next week.